Yo, what is up, breadheads? It's your boy, Mike Holland at MC Holland 34 of the One and Done CBB Challenge. Appreciate you for joining me this morning. We do have a final regular season slate here on DraftKings that we are going to be covering. 3K to first on a fine Sunday and a $95 King of the Bracket seat. So, if you're new to the show, make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button. I think we're closing in on 1,400 subscriptions. I believe we're going to be on a couple of times today, so looking forward to it. We'll be joined by Ryan from BracketBids, and if you haven't heard of BracketBids, well, if you're planning on filling out a bracket and entering a pool with your friends, coworkers, that's great. But join BracketBids, download the app. Use the promo code BREAD for 40% off your league activation fees. We are excited to be partnering up with them, and we will be talking with them a little bit later this afternoon on a different live stream. So looking forward to doing that. So 5-gamer today. Looking forward to this. Had a decent day yesterday. I was able to take first place in the smaller $15, the large field, over 300 fantasy points. Pretty tough to get there with all the value that was on the slate. But we moved to today's slate, and this is a tough slate to kind of break down. You've got the one big total that a lot of people are going to want to get into at 157. That's Iowa, Nebraska. You've got three totals kind of in the mid 140s, and then you have, for whatever reason, this what's going to be an absolute banger of a real life game. You have Bradley and Drake for the MVC championship here at 127 implied total. So that is on the slate as well. Make sure if you want to jump in the comments here, hit that subscribe button. It is subscriber only. If you guys have any questions, 2v2s, contrarian plays, let me know. Give me your thoughts too. Love to hear what the chat has to say. Let's go ahead and break this thing down. We'll get it going here. I want to see that chat on fire as we go through. We know you're having your morning coffee here, but the first game to tip us off here is Michigan +7 at Michigan State, 145 implied total. In this first matchup, Michigan State won on the road 75-61. Jace Richards had 21 points. Vlad Golden for Michigan had 21, but Wolf was kind of the fantasy star on the Michigan side, 11, 7, and 8. So a nice fantasy day for him. Starting with Michigan, 64th in tempo. Michigan State is 156, so there should be a decent amount of possessions. The problem is Michigan's here on the road, and Michigan State is 5th in defensive efficiency on the year. You got the two studs up at the top, Golden and Wolf. Golden sitting here at 8,500. He had a decent game in the first match with 25 fantasy points. Obviously not good enough for DraftKings purposes at an $8,500 price tag. So you love that he scored 21 real life points with 7-11 from the floor. Needs a double-double to get there at 8,500, so didn't really have that rebounding upside in the first matchup. But he's been really good lately. He's been 40-plus in 2 of the last 3 games. Danny Wolf, $100 cheaper. We know he's obviously a threat, can produce across the board here. It's been hot or cold, hit or miss this season. So definitely like a large field type play here. Trey Donaldson sitting down here at 6,900. I like Donaldson, but he's close to that 6,000 price tag, not the $7,000 price tag. He feels 500 to 1,000 too expensive in this spot. Do like the role, obviously taking typically 10-plus shots, decent assist rate, has some steal upside, but this is on the road, and I'm a little bit worried about using any of the guards in this spot. You've got Donaldson. Burnett is the other guard that plays safe minutes here, high 20s and the 30s. He is definitely shot dependent here, so Namari Burnett, if you're going to play him, he needs to get absolutely hot from the field. When you look at the splits, though, obviously – we know it's tougher playing on the road. Namari Burnett's shooting 13 percentage points lower from 3 on the road here. So, yeah, do we like the 28 to 32 minutes? Absolutely. But I can't fall in love with these guys, especially not Roddy Gill, even at 4,900. I just don't trust these guys, especially with Reuben Jones back. It just kind of muddies up the Michigan guards here. So, Will Cheddar here at 4,100, always interesting. You could kind of play the foul trouble game theory if in the large field, right? If Wolf or Golden get into early foul trouble, he is the beneficiary here. 3.5 to 4x from your value, really 4x from anybody on this slate, and you're feeling pretty good. So we'll shutter here at 4,100. Definitely interesting as a large field mix here. Jumping in the chat here, we got some peeps here. Give me some cheddar from Isaac. What's up, Isaac? Saying some breakfast ball. Absolutely. Snake's Eyes in there. Let's get it again today. Yeah, Snake's Eyes. I think he got second in our invitational, man. So awesome lineup there. Hopefully you had some lineups elsewhere that were able to cash as well. So that was a lot of fun. That invitational. We'll have a few more in the postseason that we'll do. We'll fire those up for you guys as we roll through the postseason experience of college basketball. Flipping over to the Michigan State side, this is a pace-up spot. 76 implied total. Definitely a steals opportunity here. A little boost here as Michigan turns it over nearly 20% in conference play. So Jace Richardson, who is the cover boy here, he's 7,800. And what you love is that he and Jaden Akins are now all of a sudden playing solid minutes. You're looking at 32 to 34 minutes. It looks like Izzo kind of figured out that Richardson, who is, I believe, still top 5 in the country in offensive rating, probably needs to be on the floor. He's ultra efficient. These extra minutes are allowing him to get peripheral. So, a couple extra rebounds here, a couple extra assists. So you definitely don't mind 7,800 price tag and a pace up here at home. So, yeah, 29 plus minutes here in 3 of the last 4. Jackson Kohler is an interesting large field tournament option. You just never know what's going to happen with his minutes. So tournament only. We know that Michigan likes to play the double big lineup. However, in the first matchup, he only played 20 minutes. Now, he dealt with some foul trouble, so I definitely like going to him here as a large field option. We know he has, north of 4x plus upside. Jaden Akins, I just mentioned him a second ago. He is also receiving a nice little minutes boost, which is propping up his floor and adding some upside, especially at 6,200. This is obviously an awesome game environment. He was only 4 for 14 in the first matchup, so any type of positive shooting regression with these added minutes here, and Jaden Akins is a really, really nice play in all formats. Last guy to kind of mention here, Carson Cooper for me, 4,200. We know they played the double big on Michigan, so he had 17 fantasy points in 19 minutes in the first game. He's got some rebounding and shot blocking upside. This is, he's more of like a secondary type value player, like a large field option if you feel like maybe Kohler gets into foul trouble. But he can get up north of 20 minutes. Typically 21 to 22 is going to be his cap. But yeah, I definitely don't mind him or Kohler for tournaments for sure. So that'll wrap up the first game. I think he got second place there. Belly ball, lose an hour of sleep day. Absolutely. So here we are. But what's awesome is that we're going to have all kinds of conference tournaments going on this week. I'm actually off of regular work for like the next 8 days, so I'm looking forward for that. And just going to be watching a ton of hoops. So make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. We're chasing 1,400 subs by the end of the year, so help us out there. I think we're 13 or 14 away from that. Tell your friends, tell your basketball homies to head on over to One and Done CBB on all socials as well as our YouTube channel. And yeah, guys, just keep the live chat rolling as we move on here to Iowa +7 at Nebraska, 157 implied total. The first matchup here, Iowa won. It was in overtime, 97-87. This was at home. Josh Dix. This was the Josh Dix game where he went nuts for 31, 6, and 7. Even Peyton Sanford got in the mix with 36 and 4. You had Bryce Williams with 28, Juwan Gary 13 points, 13 boards here. So obviously fantasy goodness in the overtime spot, but still, even if you were to take the overtime away, these guys were smashing. So Iowa was 75 implied, 56th in tempo. Nebraska 178th, the middle of the pack. But we know that both teams do not like to play any defense. So Peyton Sanford sitting here at 8,900. Absolutely love it. He has not shot the ball well at all, but he's going to play 35 minutes. He's going to shoot the ball a ton. He has rebounding upside. He's 9 for his last 35. We know he has 40-plus fantasy upside, and there's not that many guys on this slate that you can say that for. Really, there's not that many guys that you can say have 35-plus fantasy point upside. So Sanford definitely an awesome play, even though he's on the road here. still going to be jamming him into tournament lineups. Josh Dix is coming off the nice game against Michigan State where he had 35 fantasy points. He's able to produce, some rebounds and assists. He's not really a guy that's going to produce any stocks. This price tag is a little annoying, but it is $1,500 cheaper than Sanford, and we saw what he was able to do against this Nebraska team. I'm just going to be a little more cautious with Dix, especially when you have Drew Thelwell and Price Sanford and Sade Traore all under 5K. So Drew Thelwell, just flat out one of the best value plays, going to play 28 to 34 minutes. His rates aren't elite, but he has legit 5X plus upside. So, if you're looking for, the guy that you probably find as the safest value, it's probably going to be Drew Thelwell on the slate. Price Sanford, boom bust GPP option. You just don't know if he's going to play, to 15 minutes, 18 minutes, or if he's going to play 30. But he does have 20 plus fantasy point potential here. Has to get hot from the field, especially from 3. The minutes volatility is super annoying, so I'm running him only a large field option. So if you're trying to win 3K, I don't mind, playing a Price Sanford. Sade Traore, in kind of the same situation at 4,300. Only a GPP option. He's, solid fantasy producer when he's on the floor. The problem is he just, he could play 10 minutes, he could play 20 minutes. So just real volatile in the minutes aspect, but he can go 5X at this price point, especially in this type of game environment. So we know Nebraska's always been tougher on the bigs. So probably using, more of a Thelwell and then even Sanford as a stretch guy that shoots a lot of threes. But Traore, obviously, we have to mention him here. Flipping over to the Nebraska side, they're implied for 82, so you're definitely going to want to get a piece or two on this side here. And I was giving up nearly 60% from 2 and 40% from 3. This is why they are giving up as many fantasy points as they do. Bryce Williams, an elite spend, going to be mega popular. I think he's probably one of the first clicks in any format. Rates across the board here, the safest spend up at 9,300. He's going to play max minutes here. They're on the bubble, so they need some W's here. Live to play all 40 minutes. Bryce Williams at 9,300 going to be very popular. Juwan Gary for tournaments, I think, is an awesome play. Playing these two guys together, I think, is a way to get unique. I will be playing them together on a few lineups. I'll also be splitting them on some of the larger field lineups. We know that Iowa's been absolutely crushed by bigs. He's got double upside, and he's, that second option on the team. Plus, he's $1,600 cheaper, so you definitely like that. He's also, I think he was like 5 for 21 from the field against them in the first game. If he shoots 50% and he takes, north of, 14, 15 shots here, he's going to absolutely smash. So, Juwan Gary, an awesome tournament play. The rest of the squad, they're all kind of annoying where they're priced at. Sejan at 6K, Andrew Morgan, 5,200, and Raleigh Worcester at 4,800. Sejan probably too expensive. Morgan got that advantage on the inside. He's coming off the bench again. His minutes are kind of capped, so he's not going to play more than 25 minutes. Now he's 5,200, so may have a little exposure, probably no exposure to Sejan at his price tag. And then Raleigh Worcester, he's going to pop on projection models. If you render him at 30 minutes or so. But he's just not, he doesn't have great rates. Yes, he's a solid rebounder, has a little bit of assist upside, and this is a pace-up environment, but I would be careful with projections on this guy. 4X at this point is closing in on 20 fantasy points, and he's live to go single digits fantasy points. He typically just defers. He's not a real fantasy asset. Probably off on everybody except for, maybe a Hoiberg to go with like a Bryce Williams or Juwan Gary, maybe an Andrew Morgan to go with them. Even Hoiberg is pretty annoying at his price tag. So when you look at Gary, went 5X at 7.7K when he shot 5 for 21 in that game. And, Williams is just taking all the shots and has massive rates across the board. So, this is going to be a great game environment. Everybody's going to want to get into this one as we hear from old Jason B. What's up, Jason? Good morning to you, my friend. So chat, let me know what you're doing with the this is a big implied total over here on the Nebraska side. Are you spending up for a stud and moving on, or are you trying to fit one of these, secondary pieces with Williams or Gary, or are you playing Williams and Gary together? Throw it out there. Let me know what you're thinking. All right, make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe buttons. We are 2 games down, flying into the third game here. Minnesota +5 at Rutgers, 143 implied total. Minnesota implied score 69 points. We know they're slow as molasses. 357th in tempo, but getting a pace up here. Rutgers nearly top 100 in tempo. Rutgers pretty bad defensively. Also, we should see a rebounding boost from Minnesota. Rutgers doesn't have much on the interior to stop bigs on the glass or really at all stopping them from scoring. So Dawson Garcia, I think, is a great spend up. I'm not really sure how they're going to stop him with his inside-outside game. He's going to play, max minutes in a close game. So, Garcia is probably, if you're not playing a Bryce Williams, you're playing maybe a Juwan Gary. I think you need to play Dawson Garcia in tournaments for sure. So 9K, just an awesome spend. Feels like a safer spend. Like you're probably going to get 30 plus fantasy points regardless. And he's got 50 fantasy point upside, especially in a pace up spot, even though it is on the road here. Obviously, he's a very experienced player, and we've seen that upside from him. So the rest of this team here is kind of annoying where they're price tagged at. Lakai Patterson sitting here at 7,200. I just don't think with his role right now that I can really pay 7,200 for Lakai Patterson. He's more of a cash play. Like that tourney upside is just kind of eliminated when he's at this tag. Odukale here at 6,600. I would rather take shots on him in the large field tournament. He's definitely got boom bust GPP upside here. The problem with Minnesota right now is we're kind of seeing two bench pieces emerge, one in the front court and one in the back court. You're seeing Brendan Rigsby get into the mix here, which is kind of annoying for these three guards that we're playing, 35 plus minutes every single night. So Fime, more of a large field option. Sandwich in here is Frank Mitchell coming off the bench here, 27 and 23 fantasy points in the last two. He's only 4,800. How are they going to play in this one? Because Rutgers wants to get up and down. I think Rutgers' best option is play Ace Bailey at the 5, but it feels like they refuse to do that. So, Mitchell could have a nice game here. Like I said, we have a rebounding boost here for the Minnesota side. He's been playing really well. Only a large field option. You do like the minutes, mid-20s for sure. So Frank Mitchell, definitely an interesting play if you're not playing Garcia. And also the other Mitchell here, which is super volatile, Mike Mitchell, who it feels like every time we talk about how great of a play he is, he doesn't do anything. So, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes single digits again, or I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for 28 fantasy points. Foul trouble in the last game. I mean, projection places, like if you put him at 30 minutes, he's going to pop off in this type of environment. So large field only here for Mike Mitchell. And then we mentioned Brendan Rigsby. He's sitting here at 4,000, 24 and 25 fantasy points in the last two games, 13 of 20 from the field. I'm much more inclined to play Frank Mitchell. Rigsby has been absolutely, lighting it up. So some regression expected here from him, but still a really good environment, 20 to 24 minutes. I just don't want to play popular Brendan Rigsby. Like that just sounds terrible. So, kind of just one of those things. I actually 13 of 18 from the field. So even shooting even better here. I guess for me, Dawson Garcia, pretty safe with upside, and then Fime, along with the two Mitchells, are definitely interesting on this side here. So, Garcia's kind of been that guy that's been a couple of boards away sometimes for a double-double. If he just gets that, really going to unlock his upside here. I'm flipping it over to the Rutgers side. This is definitely a pace down, but Minnesota's not good defensively, so you're probably going to be able to be efficient on this one. Dylan Harper at 9,100. He could go for 50 fantasy points. He can go for 20. Been less consistent as we've gotten into conference play. This is not a great game environment. He has shot it well, too, in the last two games. So you're a little concerned that, the production isn't there, even though he's been shooting the ball pretty decently. The assist upside is kind of what's been lacking in those last couple of games. I don't know that I'm going to get to him at 9,100. that's kind of a tough spend for me. I would much rather save the $1,200 and play an Ace Bailey, even though he's coming off the down game at Purdue. We know he has versatility, right? Rebounding, stock upside. You got the position flexibility here for Ace Bailey. It just feels like a more comfortable click, especially when you consider the spend ups that we already like in like a Bryce Williams and a Dawson Garcia here. So Jeremiah Williams here at 5,300, more of like a boom bust GPP option, but really like this is not really a game environment that you expect a boom from. So probably passing on Jeremiah Williams here. Tyson Acuff is kind of an interesting large field tournament play. He's got like this 20-minute role where he's a microwave off the bench. You know, he's a top 5 scorer in the country last year with Eastern Michigan. Hasn't really gotten much playing time unless there's been injuries to the squad. So, he's a guy that can absolutely score and light it up, but more of a secondary value play on this one. So that'll wrap up this side as our boy at Fantasy Nav, Eric the Blue, is talking about the double spend up with Nebraska. So going with the Bryce Williams, Juwan Gary stack there, which is very viable for sure. Cool. Make sure you guys check out our partner, BracketBids, who we'll be chatting with later on today. Download the BracketBids app. Use the promo code BREAD for 40% off your league activation fees. You're gonna be building multiple brackets anyway, so you might as well diversify, mix it up. Jump over to BracketBids.com or download the BracketBids app and check out our show at 4:00 Central today. As we kind of dive into the news and notes from the weekend and visit with BracketBids. So check that show out for sure. Cool. We got a couple of games left before we get out of here. We got Bradley +3 versus Drake. 127 implied total. This is the MVC championship game. Looking forward to actually watching this game. For fantasy purposes, though, it's probably going to make our eyes hurt. These two teams have played twice already. Drake won on the road 64-57 in the first one. Tavian Banks was awesome off the bench, 19.7 boards. Zeke Montgomery for 17 points over here at Bradley. In the second matchup, Bradley won on the road 61-59. Duke Dean for Bradley at 12 points, 2 boards, 3 assists. And then Daniel Brady put up 16 points on the Drake side. So implied totals, Bradley 62, 271st in tempo. Drake is the ultimate pace down, dead last in the country in tempo, 364th in the country, and they are also a top 50 defense. So how much can we really like on this side? Darius Hannah sitting here at 7,500. Now, if there is a weakness for Drake, it is that they have been vulnerable a little bit inside, but still, he's about $1,000 overpriced here. He's pretty much been ineffective in both games against them. I don't want any part of 7,500 Darius Hannah in a 62 team total. It's just not for me. Kind of feel that way about a lot of the guys that are priced up here. Duke Dean, 6,400. Like the minutes are there. He leads the team in shot rate. He has a quality assist rate. This is just such an ugly team total that 6,400 for like everything would have to go right for Duke Dean to be able to just to 4x this price tag. Same thing with Christian Davis, who's more of a boom bust guy anyway, and he doesn't really have the shot volume to consistently pay this number off, especially in a pace down 62 team total. Man, it's just kind of gross. If I'm going anywhere, it's probably either a Zeke Montgomery or an Ahmet Janovich. Montgomery sitting here at 5,500. 20-plus fantasy points in both matchups. Will play 30 minutes. He's just a tick behind Dean in shot volume. He's not going to really produce any peripherals, but he does have some stock upside. So Zeke Montgomery at 5,400. I'm not running to the hills to play any of these guys, but last man in, or if you think you just want some type of exposure to this game environment, Zeke Montgomery is, I guess, an option here. Ahmet Janovich, I don't know if people are just going to like box score watch. He's 4,700, and he's been good recently. 32, 25.5, 21.5 fantasy points in the last 3. Playing mid-20s minutes. He's nearly a fantasy point per minute player. Yeah, man, this is I don't know that I'm going to chase this at all. There's just so many other plays in this 4-7 range, but I understand it for large field. I understand it for a large field. Playing someone like him or even Menyewu on the other side, I'm a little worried about getting really involved at all on this side. So we haven't seen any consistency from him to make this a click that feels comfortable at all. So definitely only if you're trying to win, 3K or even a qualifier seat, like go throw this guy in. If he's popular though, I definitely don't want to be on this. And I think the real total 118. It's definitely going to be an ugly game environment on the Drake side. 65 implied total, so not much better. Bradley, the fourth best defense during conference play. Bennett Sturts is 9,200. That's a huge price tag, but he's going to play all 40 minutes, and we know he has a really good shot rate and a really good assist rate. So I don't think so because I've got Dawson Garcia and Bryce Williams. Like, I don't know why I would pay 9,200 to get into Bennett Sturts here. Tavion Banks at 6,400. He's got the rates, but no minute certainty. So definitely a large field play. We saw him obviously go for 19.7 boards against them in that first matchup. Before the last game, 25 plus fantasy points and in 4 straight. Yeah, is it worth it, I guess, is the question. Can he get to 30 just with the minutes volatility and the minutes cap? I don't think so, which is kind of, you're looking for these guys to get over 4X today because it's just so ugly out here. So probably a pass, probably passing on Mascari. Meunier was a little interesting at 4,700, kind of in the same spot as Janovich. Like, it's kind of encouraging that he's played 26 minutes in back-to-back games, but an absolute guy that could just have his minutes demolished. Could play, 10 minutes. He's got some fouling issues, so be careful with that. More of a large field only option. There's just not anything in this game that I really want to attack. I'm probably either full fading or in the large field, either using like a Janovich or a Menyewu. So, hey, if you guys got any questions in the chat, make sure you hit subscribe so you can use the chat. Any questions out there? Last guy in, pivots, 2v2s. If you're watching later on, make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons. And keep an eye out, and we'll answer any questions that you guys have out there. So drop those in the comments for sure. Last game here as we jump into the chat. Snake Eyes, I'm always confused on lineup construction until one before lock. Yeah, absolutely. I'm with that. Love Banks, but not sure you can get it in 20 minutes in a terrible game environment. Yeah, this is just as Replay Reel jumps in here from Twitter, do we like the points in Drake and Bradley? I'm of the nature whenever you ever have a dog that is 2 to 3 points, I would just take the money line. I don't really mess with +3. Like, I'm just gonna play the dog at that point. Clearly Ken Palm likes the over, so if you're looking at the total, going over here. This is not really a game I would bet. Much rather, choose one of these other games to bet for sure. Like, I definitely like Washington here. I think, Oregon being -7 on the road here. Senior day. The first matchup, I know Oregon won at home 82-71. This is the final game that's on the slate. Osabor was pretty good in this one, 20 points, 8 boards. TJ Bamba had like 35 fantasy points in the first matchup. 21 real life points here. So it's another really good total here, 147. We got some things going on here that are kind of interesting, some interesting price points on the Oregon side. This tempo, there's going to be a decent amount of possessions. They're both, right around 140, 130 in tempo. The Washington D is absolutely awful, giving up nearly 40% from 3 during conference play. Nate Biddle, though, that price tag is insane. 9,400. He's got to get it done in 28 to 30 minutes. We know he has, really good rates across the board. Could I get to him in the large field? Potentially, right? It just feels like 40 is the cap. I could see, Bryce Williams going for 45, though. So, yeah, I don't know that I'll have too much Nate Biddle here. So probably more interested in these other guys, like especially Bamba and Shellstad. I just like the way, Shellstad takes a ton of threes, and he's never owned, right? Because his peripherals are down. He's got to get hot from the field. I just think he's an interesting, like 35 fantasy point option today as far as upside at 7,300. Definitely don't mind that. You're going to get the minutes. He has a little bit of assist upside. So yeah, Jackson Shellstad I think is pretty interesting as just as a more of a contrarian tournament option. TJ Bamba, that 37 bomb that he put on them. I don't play him when he's at like the 7K price tag. If you want to play him in the large field, he's obviously got upside. I'm more in the fact that I think we see a pretty nice game from Washington here, so I'm not as high on the Oregon side. Even implied at 77 points here, but I could definitely see a Shellstad or a Bamba getting there. The price tag for Biddle kind of takes out some of his upside. Kwame Evans at 5K, fantasy point per minute. He's playing 20 minutes, which is what you at least know you're going to get that from Kwame Evans. He's going to be really good next year. Probably be 7,500, 8K next year. But more of a secondary value. I'm more inclined to jump in on this Washington side here as we got some people jumping in the chat. Mr. Single Entry himself, Corey's jumped into the chat saying a cup of coffee and tuning into One and Done live for a lot. Joe, just making it in time for the core. Third shift got me tripping. Appreciate you joining, Joe. And then Replay Real Thoughts on the Sun Belt semifinals. We talked about the Sun Belt being just absolutely insane. Whoever comes out of there is definitely going to be well deserved there. So we have a 4 p.m. show that we are doing 4 p.m. Central, where we're going to talk about brackets with BracketBids, and check out that show. We're going to be talking, going right from the DFS side. And talking kind of things that happened over the weekend, seeding, different things like that. So hit the notification bell and make sure that you're following that show. So we'll flip over to the Washington side. I like Great Escobar here, even though Oregon's 37th in defensive efficiency. He had 36 fantasy points in the first matchup. Final home game here. He's coming off the big game against USC. They got absolutely hammered, and these guys were still out on the floor. So not many guys have the upside in this range that, that Osabor is going to have for you. So I definitely like him here. Tyler Harris, I don't know if the chat, if you guys know why. I'm looking all over the place trying to figure out why he didn't play last game. He didn't start, but then he just didn't play. If he's out, obviously that condenses the rotation. So, yeah, if he's in, I don't really have any interest because I'm not sure what's going on with him. But it definitely makes some of these other guys interesting. Mekhi Mason at 6,300, more of the cash target on this side. You're going to get 30 minutes from Mekhi Mason. He's just not a big fantasy producer. So probably out on Mason here. Kepnang, that's pretty cool that he's getting some minutes now. 29 in the last game. Still, this price tag for him is tough to swallow at 5,800. I think my two favorite plays from this Washington side are going to be, I'm still going to call him Zoom. Zoom Diallo here and DJ Davis. So Zoom is like this boom bust GPP guy, right? Could he bury your lineup? Absolutely. This is why you play him in the large field. But could he play 30 minutes and have 25 fantasy points? Absolutely. So Zoom Diallo here I think is really interesting. And then DJ Davis, not sure why they haven't been playing him big minutes all season, but got the start in place of Harris. Played 35 minutes. I played him at times when he was sub 4K, and he's popped off every now and then for 20 plus fantasy points. So if you're going to give this guy 35 minutes and he's going to take a bunch of threes at 4,500 at home, definitely don't mind it. I like him for tournaments for sure. So why don't we head on over to that core four? Remember, guys, if you haven't already and you're watching, hit that like and subscribe button. If you're watching over on Twitter, jump over to our YouTube page, One and Done CBB. We bring you DFS content. I'm working on a transfer portal big board. It doesn't stop even when the tournament ends. We'll be doing tournament breakdown. We've interviewed coaches. We've interviewed, Mark Pope a few years ago, Steve Alford, Kim English, Randy Bennett. They just won the WCC outright for the second year in a row. So check out all of our off-season content. And we're coming to you 2-3 times a week So check all that stuff out. There's a playlist if you want to go back and look at some of those shows from the past. So having said that, let's reveal the old core four, and we start with the cash and like safe tourney options here. Bryce Williams here for Nebraska at 9,300, just the best game environment on the slate. The number one option for Nebraska. It'd be really hard to see him failing here with this massive team total. You got Dawson Garcia at 9K. I don't really know how they're going to stop him. I think he's a very, very safe play with upside. He's 9K as well. Jaden Akins at 6,200, just with the little minutes boost that he's been getting. His floor of minutes has been over 30 now, which is really nice. This is a nice game environment for him. Michigan State getting paced up. He didn't shoot it very well in the first matchup, and he's live to go 4X plus here. And then Drew Thelwell at 4,600. I mean, what else can you say? He's going to play 28 to 32 minutes. He's probably the safest value play on the board today. So it's going to leave you 5,225 for the rest of your lineup here. As we slide on over to, what we consider more of like, your big upside, your contrarian, tourney spins. I don't know if this will be very contrarian, but as far as like how I view him versus a Bryce Williams and a Dawson Garcia, even a Juwan Gary, is like Peyton Sanford, right, at 8,900. Paying a 9K price tag on the road, but we know he has 40 plus fantasy point upside. So definitely like Sanford here for large field tournaments. Juwan Gary at 7,700 if you're not playing Bryce Williams and you're hoping to, gain some leverage here. But, with a Gary who was terrible in the first matchup from the floor, but still had a nice fantasy output at 7,700 for large field tournaments. I like him. DJ Davis here at 4,500. Just profiled him right. He's going to play 30 plus minutes here. Make sure he's starting. But he's definitely got 20 to 25 fantasy point upside with the amount of threes and shot volume that he takes and the minutes increase that we've seen from him. And then I think to kind of wrap it up, I think you look at like these 4,700 guys in tournaments. Mike Mitchell, right? If he starts, if he plays well, like he can pay you off for 25 to 30 fantasy points. Yewu can get you 20 fantasy points if he's, at that 26-minute level. Janovich, he's just been playing well at 4,700. If you want to toss him in, I'm more inclined to go with like a Mitchell type to try to bust open a tournament. But if you want to play those other two guys, just the game environments are pretty ugly, which I'd rather have bigs in. Also, Frank Mitchell, you could look at the $4,800 to $100 more, or a Price Sanford for a tournament. So that will kind of wrap up the core four here. And I think we got about an hour and 15 to the lineup block. As Jason B says, appreciate the content on a Sunday, Mike. Good luck to all. Absolutely. Good luck to everybody. We'll be back later today at 4 p.m. Central Time. So make sure you check out me and Jay on that show. And then I will be on Sirius XM Radio. I believe it is channel 158 tonight at 10:30 Central with VSIN, the Sports Betting Network. So looking forward to doing that tonight. I was on radio with Dr. Roto yesterday. So, looking forward to just being busy and covering the tournament and all these conference tournaments. So I appreciate everybody in the chat. Belly Ball, appreciate you, man. Been one of our biggest supporters and one of our members that's been engaging with us, and we definitely appreciate that. So one last time, hit those like and subscribe buttons. Make sure you go over to BracketBids.com or download the BracketBids app. And make sure you tune in to us a little bit later today at 4 p.m. Central for our second show of the day. My name is Mike Holland. As we say goodbye to everyone, thanks, Joe. Hey, as Jay would say, make sure you tell someone you love them. And I definitely want to get this bread.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.